Hey guys, how's it going? ShyoWager here. Welcome to Fortnite One-on-One. This is kind of an unedited, raw, no gameplay topic talk discussion in a sense. And today's focus is mentality. I'm going to be breaking down into 3 different steps. One going to be the general mental of how to handle cash cups and qualifiers. Second one going to be exactly how you play LAN. And the third one is going to be the general atmosphere of your mental when you're VOD reviewing, playing games, what you can do to be just a little bit more efficient. So first off, my biggest tip when it comes to playing cash cups, when it comes to playing 10-game series, specifically in Fortnite, is you have to treat all 10 to 15 games like a health bar. Now, I've said this on stream before, I've said it on Twitter before as well, but if you're not familiar with this concept, basically Fortnite Battle Royale and Battle Royales in general are very different from a lot of competitive shooters, a lot of other competitive games that we're all very familiar with, right? An example I can give you is CSGO. It's a best of 16, I believe, or a best of 30, first to 16 rounds. In there, if you lose a round, you're set back, but you have a chance to come back, right? You die, but your story is not over, and you get to directly correlate like one death and play off of it very fast and immediately. And that death usually has a connection to the next round, whether it's economy damage, whether it's if you didn't actually die, you picked up a gun and got to save it. When it comes to Fortnite though, that's not really there. Like a mistake you make, right, basically ends your entire session. And that session might not have much to do immediately with the next one. When I'm saying session, I kind of mean like instance, like that life you have, the 1 out of 15 games. What you basically have to kind of picture when it comes to having your whole game pool, the 15 games as one big health bar, is just imagine there's actually 15 rounds, or that you actually have 150 health. Every game you lose is just 10 health that you end up losing, right? If you think about it that way, you're never going to be in a fighting game, lose 10 health, quit the match, and not try to play anymore. When you're 1 HP in a fighting game, or when it's the last round of CSGO, you know just by playing that one round perfectly, you can bounce back, be in such a better spot than the round you were before in, and possibly come up to a better reward, ultimately also the win sometimes, right? You can make the game closer if needed anyways, which is very good when you have competitive tracked matches overall. But when it comes to Fortnite and transitioning that type of idea into Fortnite game, the Battle Royale aspect at least, suppose you're on your 6th game in, right? You get griefed, you might get headshot sniped. You have to treat that just as one round. You can't, I understand that dying in that instance puts you and sets you back mentally. You know, everything you've kind of achieved in that game is kind of diminished and gone. But it is 1/15 of your overall games, 1/10 of your overall games. In the last 2 games, the last 1 game, you can still pop off. Treat your actual resource rule as a health bar. Put it into a Fortnite analogy as well. I'll just drive it home straight quick. We'll still stay on this little bit of a topic. You're not going to be in a box fight and basically leave the game if you lose 25 HP. So why are you quitting your cash cup 3 games in, right? It doesn't make that much sense if you think about it that way. Even losing and getting down to 20 HP, I've seen people straight up give up, not hold their walls, still have 1,500 builds left. You might have an opposite zone and just start griefing, not try to actually move towards it. It doesn't make sense to quit after even losing 90 shield. Why does it make sense to quit after like 5 games if they're not going that well, right? You lost 90 shield in 1 shot. Yeah, you lost 5 games and maybe half an hour, maybe less, but literally mini up again and keep going is what I'm trying to say when it comes to that type of mentality from a cash cup online qualifier perspective, right? There's people who basically didn't end up taking World Cup quals seriously. We can learn from that lesson as well, right? Those are online quals. The health pool greatens there as well. In your career and journey, that's a health pool too. You have to kind of realize. So when it comes to World Cup quals, if you don't qualify from week 1 to week 9, you're still at 10 HP, right? Your life is still there. Like you're still alive in that last week. When it comes to your Fortnite career, in a sense, right? Like your health pool is still getting made up. You don't know the actual specifications for it, but until you hit stop yourself, you're still in the game. You are basically the developer for your own journey. So you cutting it off and blaming it on other things, ultimately it's you pulling the kill switch. I don't think it's a thing you have to do. Have tenacity, move through it. It should be a very good time. My Siri just auto-activated. So as we segue into the next topic, let me turn that off really quick. Jesus Christ. Hope that really makes sense for you. Try to understand that, and then you can put that mentality into in-game things as well, right? Like, yeah, your games are a health pool. When you're talking about resources, a lot of stuff in your inventory is a pool as well for your actual health. You can use minis, you know, instead of using your mats. I think Bala said this before as well, but like everything in general in your inventory is a resource you can use. and the games you're playing yourself are a resource you have to keep track of and that aren't depleted until you are 10 out of 10. That's kind of going off topic though. We'll move on to the next kind of thing about mentality, which is the LAN mentality, and a few tips and tricks you can use when you're in high pressure situations, even high level scrims, to stay comfortable. Because the biggest issue on LAN, in my opinion, when it comes to your mental, is you're on a different setup. There's pros in other scenes that straight up don't even go to a LAN themselves because they're too used to their chairs and their desks, right? So how do you kind of become familiar in an unfamiliar place is kind of the trick you have to make your mind believe to play, I believe, in a consistent way to how you were before, unless you've been to many LANs. But if DreamHack Anaheim is your first LAN, if you're catching this video after Anaheim's passed by, hopefully there's a Worlds announcement, who knows, or another LAN announcement, and you're watching this now, find things that seem familiar that you can emulate on LAN and at home. So one big tip a lot of people give, a lot of mental coaches, a lot of therapists sometimes as well, and a good tip for taking exams is you can chew gum at home and when you're playing, and chew gum when you're in these high pressure situations as well can make you feel a little bit more focused and a little bit more comfortable. I don't like suggesting that too much because, first of all, sugar, second of all, teeth, mans are struggling out here, sometimes me included. Probably not the best way to just chew gum 24/7, probably not the healthiest option. Then again, it's your boy talking about health, I'm not sure what I'm talking about. But if gum is not your route, if you don't like chewing gum, you can do things in game that kind of trick your mind into being in the right headspace in a sense. If you have a drop spot you like a lot, if you're rotating past things you find familiar, I understand getting your drop spot uncontested is very nice. It makes you feel very safe and confident. But then as that mid game goes on, you guys can agree with me, especially if you're a little bit inexperienced facing higher level players, it gets kind of daunting and scary, right? So you can mark like actual points of interest, not actually POIs, but certain hills you walk by every game. Kind of like markers on a marathon, right? Like the 3K mark, the 6K mark, 9K mark, and a 12K run. Getting those marks just tells your brain, okay, we are at this portion, we can make it through. So like go on your scrims, say you're landing Frenzy Farm. If you make it all the way over to Weeping Woods in a Slurpee Circle, you can be like, okay, I made it to Weeping, I've been here before, this is safe, this is nice, this is a checkpoint. Find checkpoints in game so you're on the right track. And sometimes that can be good too, because when you do panic, you end up in very unfamiliar places. You can, mid-game, a cool trick is to just have places you want to rotate to and control, have checkpoints, not only till your game goes well, but your mental's also safe. You can feel like you win spawn 5 times a game if you're making these checkpoints. That's a cool trick for LAN. The other thing as well, had a question about this on stream last night, actually, twitch.tv/ShyoWager, big plug right there. Anyways, someone came onto stream and they said that they were very nervous about exactly going to LAN, fighting people like Rex, fighting people like Zate in solos. This individual was specifically trying to contest Misty Meadows and was asking me, how do I beat someone like Rex? First of all, you're not even gonna be sure you're in Rex's game. When it comes to people of Rex's caliber, they have the same player model as you. They're fighting for the same chests that you are. They're landing on the same roofs and houses that you are. They're exploring the same territories, looking for the same mid-game picks as you are going to be, right? Everyone is the same player. Everyone's on the same field from the battle bus. It's all just separated by skill right there and then. Now, if you're going to LAN not thinking you're the most skilled, you need to change that mentality. I don't care what you actually are at. You have to be in the mental of trying to beat everyone. You have to be in the mental of thinking that, yeah, these guys are established, but I'm here to get established. I'm here to start my journey, because that's how it works, right? You win here, you build a brand. Now, people might say, okay, there's an opposite side to that, right? When it comes to all the things you're thinking about. Like, if I push this guy, people are gonna think I'm a griefer. And that's hard, right? There are certain, I believe, like Trios FNCS, like contesting Booga, Inspire called a griefer in a sense. We can delve into topics of that. There have been many videos, is did he grief, did he not grief? In general though, all you basically need to do is keep winning over and over again. Doesn't matter against who it is. Once you win like 7 to 8 times, people have no choice but to respect you. One thing I like to say is that Young Calc has fans. Young Calc has stands, bro. If Young Calc can have fans doing the things he does, anyone can have fans doing the things they do, as long as they keep winning, because that's what that guy does. He's consistent. He pops off in solos. Yeah, he talks trash on Twitter. Sometimes he makes mistakes, gets shot down. People call him doggy dog Schmeat. It doesn't matter, because he wins. You can do the same, right? You can be the younger Young Calculator in a sense. Build a following by winning. It's the easiest thing to do. It's the one thing that shuts everyone up, grief or no grief. Regardless, I don't advocate griefing. Screw that. you're not griefing, you can test someone if you do it the right way. That is, once again, off topic. We're going to keep going back to the third point. That was land mental. Find checkpoints in summary, and then be comfortable in your own skin. Be confident in yourself, and realize that everyone there is a player just like you in the game. All right, except for Ninja. The man has his own skin. Absolute legend. When you're fighting him, probably no chance. Efficient mind. When it comes to VOD reviewing, this is the third one. When it comes to playing the game in a more efficient way, like how are you practicing? How are you actually intaking your actual practice? Are you improving? Are you in the same set space 24/7? Are you changing enough? Or a lot of questions I just put on the plate. Let's take the main one, which is, are you changing enough to where you're learning enough? I'll connect these in a very specific way in a second, but it's like, suppose you're on a very bad sense and you don't know that yet. Or suppose you're trying something over and over again and you're not sure if it's good. The easiest way to see if something is good is to compare it to something else. And when it comes to actually playing the game, it's about you comparing yourself to your prior self. So say you have a drop spot, say it's really good, say you know everything about the left side of actually moving on the map, and say you have a very good game sense, self-defined, right? Like end game, I work really well, I move really well, I gain a lot of information from my cones when I base up. When it comes to having an efficient mind, try switching up how you actually play. I understand DreamHack's coming up, a lot of other lands are coming up, you need a lot of practice. You might want to actually go and look at the game from someone else's eyes, but actually in their skin as well. Watching VODs is one thing, but try changing your drop spot, try learning the ways of another POI and actually how they rotate and the different elements that you can find from their drop. Because if you're in a drop that has no fishing, right? Say you're dropping Frenzy, main house, there's not many rivers nearby. If there are, other people scoop them up. You'll never really understand how someone loots Weeping properly. You never really be able to, maybe if you watch VODs, you can see it, but playing it, you can actually internalize it and understand how people move from their POIs. You can track people, which is so important. And if you're in the headspace of multiple people, there's less distractions, you're more efficient on your decisions, and it's very nice to just keep moving situation to situation. When it comes to playing efficiently as well, try when it comes to practicing, not only practicing new mechanics, but building confidence in your mentality by practicing how fast you switch in between those mechanics. You're gonna feel really good in your own headspace when you're playing, when you can make a decision and instantly split towards another one. I think it's one thing that not enough players are practicing nowadays, which is basically making split calls over and over again in succession that makes sense in a story, right? The main thing as well in internalizing what happens is how you handle losses and wins. So I'll link this back to this previous third point topic I just mentioned. People always ask, like, how do you not tilt super hard after a loss? And the trick is to not celebrate after a win. Now hear me out here. It's very, very hard to control your emotions after losing, but if you can get a grasp on your emotions in a more controlled atmosphere, aka wins, let's say try not popping off way too hard, try focusing on exactly what you did wrong and the instant any mistakes that you made before, and move on to the next step of the process. If it's a VR, let's just see how long the code's coming in. I understand you might be streaming, have to bump it up for the stream, but if you can control your celebration and winning, it'll make controlling your defeat and your loss of confidence when you lose a game that much easier, because you finally have a basic grasp on exactly how you portray your emotions, whether it's mentally or in game, whether you jitter, because I jitter on a win as well. But if you control yourself on a win and dumb yourself down, you can 100% lift yourself up on a loss as well, because you'll understand the process, right? So try that out, see if it works. And then once again, you'll be able to not even become that over emotional if you're analyzing a lot of different aspects of the game in practice, right? See how people rotate from dirty, internalize it one game, try playing it, see how that portion of the map plays out. And then, yeah, that's basically having an efficient mind. You're controlling yourself in your wins and losses. You're putting yourself in other people's shoes. When you practice, a lot of the time, if you feel like, what you're doing is dead on your own improvement, go look at how other people are playing. Put yourself in their shoes. That's basically the third points wrap up. In summary, I have it written down here so I don't forget it. For general mentality, it's all about, staying on your grind, that entire health pool, the health resource of actually playing out 15 games. You're not gonna leave on 25 damage. So don't leave when you just mess up 2 games. For your land mentality, build some checkpoints in game to stay comfortable and have a familiar spot, right? I feel good when I'm playing beside my bed. Feel good when you're next to those, Polar Peak Mountain-esque drop spots when you pass by things in game that you recognize, bridges and whatnot. And then finally, the efficient mind. Learn how to control yourself after a win so you can control yourself easier when you're actually losing. And then at the same time, if your practice is not going well, try switching it up and learning other people's practice so you can understand how they're doing. Make your practice efficient so your mind can work easier. You're not gonna have to see as much in game. My bad if this was a little bit of a rant. I'm experimenting with a bunch of different series. I would talk about this type of stuff on stream and have chat to correct me if I say something incorrect. You can drop a subscription on the channel if you want to see exactly how these series turn out, as well as I would really appreciate a comment. You can correct me if I said something incorrect. If you don't agree, if you agree, we can have a discussion. I just usually do this online. This is just something creative I thought of doing offline as a series. If you have any suggestions for what you want up next as well, you can throw those down in the comments too. Different topics, we'll break them down into threes. And yeah, that was Fortnite 101 with ShyoWager. Hope you guys have a dope day. Take it easy, brothers. Where's the stop recording button?